Sox fans, welcome back to Good Guys Talk Back. Hey, it's episode 255. I am Nick Murawski. This is a fan-centric Chicago White Sox podcast. We do it weekly on our YouTube channel, live on Sunday nights. You can find the audio absolutely everywhere you find your podcasts. We do have some fun stuff to get to. It is absolutely freezing here in the Chicagoland area. And here we are talking White Sox with my very, very, very dear best friend and co-host, Pat Hester. Hello,
very,
sir.
very dear and good best friend. Hey, buddy, it's good to talk to you. It's good to see you. Yeah, what else would we be talking about during NFL playoff time with negative 10 degrees outside, other than the Chicago White Sox? The hottest topic, and in all of the off season, moves are being made. Money will be spent in the middle of trade talks. What else can you ask for?
Yeah, we're crazy. I talked about it last week. You and I are nuts, and I know that there's so many other people that are nuts. Jumping in the comments, following this podcast for so many years, and there's a lot of other White Sox content out there that goes all off season long. So we're all crazy, and we got some stuff to kick around here. And I'm gonna kind of let you choose here where you'd like to go first. Got a couple nuggets. We got a promo schedule, so we've got some.
Okay.
We've got some promotional items, some giveaways, an idea of where what we're doing here this season. Kopech, Pat, Michael Kopech is absolutely having his best life in just tip-top shape. He is feeling so good, and I know you love this time of year. I know you love when everybody's feeling just their absolute best. So we can go there. Garrett Crochet wants to be in the starting rotation, or maybe the White Sox want him to be, or maybe a little bit of both. And we've got a new assistant to the traveling secretary, new assistant general manager, that's going to be reporting to Chris Getz. So where would you like to head here on this very cold, frigid evening?
Well, I know where you want to go.
That's not necessarily true.
But I'm going to go. I'd like to start with the Crochet discussion, because I think, to me, that's the most interesting thing. That's the conversation, in my opinion, that has the most meat on the bone, because you're talking about starting pitching, which again is, I know, something that's always important to everybody, but very important to you as a fan. I know that. And you're talking about a guy that's a lefty that's coming off of Tommy John, that they're trying now to stretch out to be a starter, which I think to envision him being a starting pitcher by the time we get to opening day or last long enough, it's a pipe dream, right? I mean, the guy's got, I believe, 77 career innings in Major League Baseball. Does that sound right? Or am I crazy?
That sounds about
something
right.
And he's coming off an injury, and it was talking. You and I got together yesterday, and we watched a little football.
We did.
Broke a little bread together, had a bowl of chili, cheers to each other. It was fantastic. Thank you again for inviting me.
Sure.
But I was listening to Connor McKnight on White Sox Weekly on my drive over to your house, and the conversation he was having was what we're having now, is about Garrett Crochet, and it's like the guy's got right now 2 pitches. So not only has he not been stretched out enough to be a starter, he really only features 2 pitches. The slider will probably be the one that is going to be the one that's the most difficult to come back after Tommy John surgery. So you're basically down to maybe a pitch and a half, if anything. They're trying to develop a changeup for him, but you really can't be a starter in this league unless you have 3 pitches. And we saw that, and it made me think of Lucas Giolito, because we talked a lot about it on this podcast with Giolito. He had the devastating changeup and the fastball. He could never find that 3rd pitch. He could never command that slider enough to be dominant with it. And that's why I think his career has been so, a roller coaster ride-ish. So that's where I'd like to start. Again, I didn't mean to take up a lot of time there, but I just thought that was the most interesting thing, most meat on the bone topic to kind of kick off our show today.
Yeah, I love it. No, that's a great choice. Per Chris Getz, Garrett Crochet preparing this offseason to be a starter. We'll take some time, obviously. Here's Getz's quote. It's going to take a little bit of time to appropriately stretch him out, but we're going in with the intention of him to be a starter in 2024. Wasn't specific on exactly what time of the season. Is this going to be September? Will this be, around the trade deadline? It will just be for, a handful of games. I mean, obviously, it's very open-ended, what Chris Getz said, and we as fans can kind of chop all of this up. Of course, hindsight 2020, Pat, where was this a long time ago? When he first was drafted and things, I hate to give everybody flashbacks of that A's series, but man, my stomach just turns thinking about all of that. But here we are, and we've heard this though from Crochet, like he wanted this. He this is what he thought he could do at the major league level. There's, Han might have even talked about it. Others in the organization, hinted at Garrett Crochet being a starter eventually. Yeah, it's a little surprising right now that this is what, the focus is heading into this season with this rotation that is up in flux, a lot of question marks everywhere. So a couple things here from my perspective. Maybe this is the best year to do with that. If there are zero expectations with the Chicago White Sox team, okay, we as fans, that I can't speak for everybody, but that's in my gut. That's where I'm at with this team. No matter what they say about being lucky to be in the AL Central, we just need to tweak a couple things and we could be right back there and we could compete. Please, we're seeing what's going on. Don't get fooled again. Look what's happening. And this is another example of that. Garrett Crochet in the rotation 2024, right? You have no expectations as an organization, serious expectations. So try him out this year. Stretch him out this year. Stretch him out during the season. Go ahead. If you really see him as a starter in the future, then why not use this year? Because, I mean, with everything that hasn't happened, and I know the offseason's not completely over, but, man, I don't have a lot of faith of where this team, and nor do the prognosticators and all that other kind of stuff of where they're going to end up at the end of this year. My other thing, Pat, is just go have some fun this year. Just let players do whatever the heck they want. If he wants to start, go ahead, guy. Aloy, if you want to play first base, man, go ahead, play first base. Nobody's watching this team. Okay, there's no expectations. Mankata, you want to get behind the dish, give somebody a breather every now and then. Look, Vaughn, you want to play some third? I mean, look, that's.
I started laughing because I just thought that would be a great slogan for the year. Nobody cares. Do whatever you want. White Sox baseball. I think it's on sale.
You got to add that. You got to add that those last two tags to make it official. Do what you want. White Sox baseball tickets on sale.
Nobody's watching anyway.
Nobody's watching anyway.
That's hilarious. Well, I first of all, I agree with what you're saying, because this can be, though the expectations aren't going to be very high, it could be a great year to just kind of experiment with some things, right? Let's see what we could do here. Let's see how we could address this situation. Let's see if we actually do have a starting pitcher here for the long term, because the starting staff had turned into a very right-handed heavy starting pitching staff. It was a lot of the same type of guys out there on the mound, and it was very easy to game plan against the White Sox when you're going into a series against them, because you kind of had a feeling for, obviously, a lot of right-handers in the rotation, much like our offensive lineup. It's a lot of right-handed bats in the lineup. So I could see why you'd look at that and go, let's take this year to kind of work him into an opportunity for him in 2025. I just wrote down on my notepad here, Nick, you're looking at a starter and how many innings the expectation of a quality starter would be. I guess I don't even want to say these days because it changes so much, but would an over under on Garrett Crochet innings this year at 75 seem like a good mark? And would you go way under that, or is that about where it would be set?
Well, So this has me thinking of like, well, what's the ultimate plan? Is it just to have him as a starter in 2024? Realistically, that's all you're really doing is having him as a starter in 2024. Gosh, 75 innings. I mean, for a guy like Dylan Cease, who's been taking the ball, who's been kind of the iron horse for the White Sox the last several years. I mean, that's like 30, 32 starts. Okay, touching 200 innings plus is what you'd like to see.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, does Crochet does he get 15, 20 starts? I mean, do they go? I mean, this gets into like 6-man rotation at the beginning of the year. Like, there's a lot of other question marks. This whole Garrett Crochet thing has really kind of thrown me off. I'm open to it. Great. You want to try it this year in 2024. And if that's what he ultimately wants to do, to your point, Pat, which is a great point, it helped balance the rotation a little bit. We need that lefty presence. If he can regain some of that power and develop some of his pitches, he might have to do it on the fly in real game situations. I'd like to see over 75, though, Pat.
Well, really and again, I'm just going back to what I believe his career innings he's pitched is, and again, mostly out of the bullpen or all out of the bullpen, is about 70 something innings. If he could at least match his career innings marks in 1 year, I'd say that's a pretty healthy stretch out of a starting pitcher. That's what I think. And it could be a situation where it's long relief, where he's coming in for multiple innings out of the bullpen. It could be spot starts here and there where he's starting maybe in going 3, maybe 4 innings in a spot start here or there, much like they did with Kopech. If you remember, Kopech was out of the bullpen and he was doing some spot starts coming off the injury and coming back.
Sale did that years ago.
Did it, right? So, I mean, realistically, if I say that my expectations of Garrett Crochet is this year, if he could match or, go just above what his career innings mark is, I think that would be somewhat of a success, getting him through that and seeing where, if he is an effective pitcher in that, and if he can develop, that slider, make sure it's where it needs to be, and develop a third pitch on top of that. So I'm intrigued, and I don't know if we're going to see 101, 102 miles an hour fast.
No, I don't think we are.
Long gone.
That's long gone. Where I'm at now is I would even throw the innings just to the side and say I don't really care too much about innings. I mean, ultimately you do, but because this is such a new adventure and the development of different pitches and the stamina and the makeup, okay, it's a different game if you're a starter than you are coming in from the bullpen. It's a mindset. We found that out with different pitchers that we've had through our organization and other pitchers that have tried this out. I mean, we'll talk about Kopech in a moment. Some that have tried it in year, starter, reliever, starter. It can spin you like a top. So I just want a healthy Crochet at the end of the year. Okay, he got through this year healthy. He developed, he felt comfortable, confident, took the ball when he was supposed to take the ball. There weren't any setbacks physically. And, he develops those extra pitches as a starter. Innings, I don't know if you can play that game with him, in 2024.
Yeah. Well, I think that kind of answers the question on Garrett Crochet. I leave it up to you. Where do you want to go with topic number 2 of the night, Nick?
Well, why don't we just follow up and go with Kopech and hi to Sydney and Spags and Mailman Jack. Thank you so much for jumping in the comments here on our YouTube live feed. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. I really do appreciate that. It goes a long way. So Kopech, this is the time of year we're going to hear a lot of this from players. And boy, once around Valentine's Day hits, Lincoln's birthday, whenever pitchers and catchers are reporting, which is coming up fast, you'll get those hype videos. Who can forget the Romy Gonzalez hype video from last year? Trying to win second base and lifting weights and all. You're going to see these strength people with parachutes behind their back and the giant rubber bands, and everybody's in these like the slogan tees of which maybe going back to the original point you had, the slogan tees, like the workout tees with their like we are family or whatever, just like do what you want, nobody's watching.
I think that'd be
how
great
about
for
that?
Pedro to have. Pedro's got to have the first one.
He's got to
Do whatever you want. Throw your glove out to a position. Maybe that's where you'll play.
Yeah.
Everybody, this is the time. 'Tis the season to everybody's in their best shape of their life season. Everyone except me. I was in the best shape they've ever been in their entire lives.
You'll get there.
They can't wait to get it going, and it's unbelievable. I've done so many different things this year. And I can't wait to show you how great a shape I'm in. So that's all good to hear. I mean, it's better than hearing the alternative, right, Nick? It's better than hearing Michael's having a little bit of a setback here or there, or the arm isn't responding quite how we had hoped it would, and mentally he's having a hard time. All that stuff that we could hear.
So we won't hear that, Pat, until June, July, when he can't get out of the third inning consistently, and then we'll hear about this nagging weird knee situation or something, or he had a shoulder problem in January that we didn't know about. But you're right, it could be a lot worse right now.
And I think it's interesting too, and I don't want to take it too far off of the topic of Kopech, because I think this has something to do with it. I mean, Chris Getz was talking about on the Zoom meeting he had with the press the other day about addressing injuries and addressing how we're going to change it. And he said it's more like, I think the injuries over the last couple of years have kind of gotten turned into a life of their own. Like, people expected, and I think the players expected at some point they would break down and have injuries. And I do like the way Chris is addressing it. We're going to go out there and train our bodies to go out there and play the game of baseball. And I think it's going to be a different mindset from the top down. Is like, listen, guys, we've got to almost be you've got to be conditioned and trained to play this game and build up some calluses along the way in order to endure the season. And we can't, put people in foam rubber every day and pray to the heavens that they don't get hurt, because that just hasn't happened that way. So I'm hoping that for Michael Kopech and others that are going to be coming into the best shape of their lives, that they're ready to become in the spring training and break down their bodies a little bit, right, Nick? Because that's how you build up that callus, is you break it down, you go back to work, you work on those things, and you kind of get in this repetitive motion where, listen, we're going to play hard and injuries are going to happen. We're not going to be able to stop all injuries, but we have to condition our guys to play the game, right? You have to condition yourself to get out there and play every day. Take, for example, and they're playing right now, the Detroit Lions right now have gone pedal to the metal since Dan Campbell's gotten there. And everybody's like, well, you should have rested this guy before the playoffs and this and that. His guys are ready to go out there and play the game of football. Now, it's a different sport altogether, but I'd like to have a little bit more of that mentality into the White Sox. Is, listen, guys, some of you are going to go out there and get hurt. Somebody is going to go on the IL this year for an extended period of time. But we have to go out there with the mentality that we're not going to get hurt, and we're going to do everything we can to condition our bodies to prepare ourselves for 162 games, even though none of you are going to probably play 162 games. Is that crazy?
It's not crazy. I mean, late great Tom Petty, if you don't run your rust. I'm a firm believer in, not easing into anything, playing with urgency early on. I thought that's what we were going to get last year. That's what I was hearing from Pedro. Of course, he won the offseason with all of his comments and his rah-rah stuff, and it absolutely fizzled, of course, was well documented why he's still the manager of this team. There's reasons why, and they're all pathetic and sad. To Kopech here, this is Ethan Katz on Kopech. He feels the best he's felt in a couple of years. We'll see the best version of Michael Kopech that everybody wants to see. So, of course, roses and everything's going great right now, and that's good. To your point, it could be a lot worse. He could have a nagging injury or something, so he's feeling great. Where he's ultimately going to land, things were talked about towards the end of last season. Relief out of the bullpen. We want him to have that starter mentality, though. I know there are a lot of folks that don't want him as a starter. They're done with the Michael Kopech experience. And I'm kind of on that train as well. I don't think we've gotten the best version of Michael Kopech. And I don't think the best version of Michael Kopech is out of the bullpen because of control issues. I don't think I would bring him out of the bullpen, especially with runners on, because of what I've seen with his inability to locate the plate. And then he gets frustrated, right? There's that body language. And then before you know it, there's a couple walks and a gapper, and it's like, what just happened here? When you're starting, you do have the luxury a little bit to ease into an outing. So if you walk a couple guys here and that, you can't let it snowball, but you can work your way to that hopefully 5-6. I wish it was more than that, but that's where we're at right now with starters. If I don't feel comfortable bringing this guy in with runners on, how can I have him in my bullpen? Unless he's really figured something out in the off season. I'm glad he's in physical condition, but between the ears and his mechanics, how are those going? Now, to like being hypocritical, I guess, of like my own points here, well, then that could be said too as a starter. If he can't locate the plate and all that stuff, sure, there's a little bit of leeway in an outing. You can get back on track. Okay, I had a bumpy first, but hey, I'm in it through. We've seen this from other starters. I'm in this for hopefully 5 or 6. But we saw way too many outings last season where it was like the third. You can't get out of the third, sometimes less. And he had a string of those.
Yeah.
So we're dying for pitching. We're dying for a starting rotation here. We've got some young arms that are going to be highlighted, but I don't see Kopech coming out of the bullpen.
Well, the thing about Michael Kopech, and again, the stuff is electric enough to start or to be in the bullpen, in my opinion. He's got closer type stuff to me, right? When he's right, the fastball is rising and it's in the zone, and the breaking ball is doing what it should do. He's got the stuff, and seemingly the presence on the mound when he's right to be somewhat of a closer, but he seems to be more like a guy that the conditions and everything has to go right for him. Any kind of bump in the road is going to derail him and put him in the gutter, right? A misplay behind him, which is going to happen a lot with this team unless they play differently than they have for the past 5 years defensively. The conditions, the weather isn't perfect for him. I mean, there's a missed call by a home plate umpire, which is going to happen more often than you'd like to have happen, but it happens. Right. So I think he's got to have the situations, the weather, the team behind him. Defense. Everything's got to be just right, or else it's just like the hamster falls off the wheel with this guy. So I would love to say that, I've got a lot of confidence in him. I don't. But I am intrigued to see what we are going to get out of Michael Kopech this year, because I think I think this year will finally answer, I think this is kind of it. Right.
Yeah. I would say. Yeah.
Right. And I don't know what his please don't ask me, because I don't know what his contract situation is. It may be it anyway, but I kind of think this is the make or break year for him. I think he probably knows that from that standpoint. Somebody will probably take a flyer on him if something happens and he's not on this team anymore. And, everybody likes a reclamation project, but I think this is the last stand in terms of what we're going to see from him in a White Sox uniform.
And in the theme of experimental and folks trying things out and not a lot of pressure with this year, maybe I could also have an argument of, we're gonna bring him out of the bullpen. We're weak in arms out of the bullpen anywhere. Sydney brought up, who's going to be the closer. I have no idea who the closer is going to be. Yeah. I feel like that one might just emerge out of camp. So again, if you want to experiment with some stuff, you got Crochet going to be a starter. If you want to flip Kopech and bring him out of the bullpen, but don't do this flip flop stuff with him.
Snip, snap,
like
snip.
Snip. That's going to screw with his mind even more.
Mm-hmm.
Like whatever you decide with him, pick a lane, and hey, you're going to be a starter. We need you to have that mental, and don't worry, we're not moving you. Like, this is where we think you're going to be set up for success,
Let me ask you this hypothetical, Nick. Let's say he does go out and has a really good first half of the season, and maybe the pitcher that we all had hoped he would be, but the team is where we expect it to be. Would you want to flip a Michael Kopech, or do you say this is a guy that we gave up a lot to get, right? And we finally want to see this bear fruit for us. We don't want to let this go, and we need starting pitching. I don't know that I want to trade this kind of known thing for maybe some unknowns and some prospect starters down the line. What say you, General Manager Nick Murawski, if those scenarios were to play out?
I think what the Sox should be doing right now is preparing for the future. I think that goes to our cease conversations of, if you have something that you like right now, and I know you're leveraging and, it's like you've got an asset here and you're looking for the highest bidder and you're wondering if teams are going to bid against themselves. And I think we're dwindling maybe on teams, and I'm almost at a point of like, just wake me up when Cease is dealt, or, if he's still going to be here on March 28th or whenever opening day is, because I'm kind of getting done with this game. I think Orioles have probably got the best prospects for this. Getz is asking for the farm, as he probably should, but you don't want to scare people away, and you don't, you also, though, don't want to undercut yourself. And yeah, there's a risk of going into the season with Cease on your team because he could get injured and then you really don't have the asset at the trade deadline, or he can, have a clunker. It's just like, you know what? I just, whatever I had, I lost. I can't figure it out. And there's that jewel that you thought maybe was going to help reclaim and kickstart this other rebuild, right? So my mentality is like, whatever assets you have right now for the White Sox, like if you can get something out of them that are going to breathe new life, that are going to be falling in line with Pedro and Getz's plan, and this is going to be the next wave of White Sox players, then I say go do it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that how the first half of this year unfolds. I'm sure it's going to go the way we expect, and what players are still going to be here after the trade deadline, and what kind of team, because there's not a lot of buzz and excitement about this team right now. Just think about what we're going to be thinking about in mid-June till mid-July, when we get closer to that trade deadline. How do you get up for a team that's probably going to be looking to unload at that point? But just something I thought was interesting. Where
promos,
do you want to?
Promos. How do you get excited? Promos.
That's you are such a veteran and a savant of the radio waves. I was going to ask you where you wanted to go next, sure. And you took us by, as you always do. You drive the show, and you drove us right into promo. So this is your time of year. I'm glad it's finally happened, because the angst that was coming out of you the last couple of weeks that there wasn't a promo schedule yet.
Yeah.
I think you spoke into existence. I know Brooks Boyer is a big listener of this show. He's probably like, we're going to lose Nick pretty soon if we don't get a damn promo schedule out there. And he cracked the whip on the people, and they got it out for you.
A lot of people wondering where's the play-by-play announcer? When is that going to get figured out? I'm like, where's the promo schedule?
AI
schedule?
Can do it.
Yeah, anything's possible. Just have Stone do double duty. Set up his own questions, answer them. It'd be fabulous. I'd tune in. Promos.
I think Stoney would have enough hubris to do that. He would.
I think he would. I actually think he would like it.
I can do this whole thing. I can do 5 hours.
I'm your man. So the promo schedule for the 2024 season dropped, I think, on Friday. We knew about the Luis Robert Jr. bobblehead that was talked about previously by the White Sox, and we thought more to come. But Pat, I'm a bobblehead guy. We've talked about this. So many others are. I'm a collector. You saw the collection here when you were, we were watching the games yesterday. Only one right now. And I know this is like the first wave of promos. They'll do another round, and sometimes they'll do a couple, just add-ins here and there. But only one bobblehead on this, and that's the Luis Robert Jr., which is not a surprise. I think there probably will be a second Luis Robert Jr. bobblehead in a different uniform, different pose, all that kind of stuff. So maybe to your surprise, Pat, and I was kind of surprised when I looked at this promo schedule. I kind of felt a little disappointed, melancholy, vanilla.
Oh, melancholy.
Yeah, I just I'm starting to get to the point where they've got the same stuff
Yeah.
and they're just, a new design. They're in this routine. They're in a very comfortable routine, and the designs are nice, and it's like what we have right now is you've got the hockey jersey that they came out with a couple of years ago. So it's like, okay, we're going to give you a hockey jersey every year, a football jersey. We're going to give you a basketball jersey. They've got this sleeveless, like a tank or a sleeveless they're going to do. They got the Hawaiian shirt, which is outstanding. I love the Hawaiian shirt design this year. And there's a crew neck, kind of like a sweatshirt, long sleeve tee crew neck. And then you got your Elvis night and different heritage nights, and of course the fireworks. But it's like plug and chug right now. It's like this is maybe the fourth or fifth year where these are our big things, and we just change up the design, and we don't give you anything new or different or flashy the Sox I felt like, man, they were inventive with this years ago. The rest of the league has absolutely caught up with them, and they have with food. I mean, and Sox, you're going to eat well at Sox Park, and they always have some great, amazing stuff. And we'll see when the new food comes out, probably closer to opening day. But other stadiums, Pat, you and I travel and have seen, what other stadiums do. Like, hey, it's kind of old hat. Other teams are doing all these great food, fun items. So I'm asking for the Sox to get a little bit more inventive, like take some risks, like do some interesting stuff here. And maybe they will in the second wave of promos. But I mean, I don't know. Adam, did anything really catch your eye when you poured over the?
No, I mean, you and I talked about it, I think, a little bit yesterday, and I could tell your disdain for their maybe lack of creativity. I thought of three things just now off the cuff that I thought maybe you would like as opportunities. So how about this one? We want you back postcards that you got night. The White Sox, really nice hard card stock. We want you back with the Nick Murawski jersey pictured on the back. I think that'd be nice. We want you back.
You bring your postcard, bring your "We Want You Back" postcard, that thick, glossy postcard that they spent all that money on. Bring that for a free ticket.
There you go.
50% off, half off, whatever.
All right.
Free parking, something like that. I like that.
You like free parking. It's like Monopoly. Second one, how about season ticket holder pin night? Maybe you could come and collect the correct pin. You exchange
pin swap.
Your incorrect pin for the right pin.
True story. I have yet to get, and I'm no longer a season ticket holder, but have the decency to still send me my correct pin. I have yet to get my correct pin.
Maybe it's at your old address, Nick. You did move.
No,
I don't know if I'm breaking news here or not, but if
that should be all forwarded. I changed it in like the ballpark app. I changed it in all the places that you should be changing it. That to me is ridiculous. So maybe have a pin night where we'll actually get you your right pin, or you can exchange with other people in the parking lot or something. Advertise it. That's great.
And I thought of this one, given the warm ovation his widow got the other night at the Bulls game. How about Jerry Krause bobblehead night?
Oh my God.
Would that go over like a lead balloon? He was part of the White Sox organization as a scout.
He was.
And I think that would be a nice homage. I think a lot of people would come out in droves for the Jerry Krause bobblehead night.
You think fans would have a similar reaction? You think all the folks
just take it and boo at the bobblehead and just boo you?
Yeah, Matthew Stafford got boos in Detroit. I mean, fans are going to boo.
Yeah.
Fans have opinions, believe it or not, Pat. Do you understand that?
That's what our show's based on. Yes,
I mean, exactly. Who am I to say? I know there's a lot of opinions on all that went down with the Ring of Honor, and optics not good at all. I mean, but if you got a paying customer that maybe had a few, they're going to let loose.
When was the last time?
Who am I to sit up on a high chair and just say no? You should not be doing. I mean, look, I'm trying to get people to bring their shopping carts back to the corrals in the parking lot. How can I get people to not boo Jerry Krause on Ring of Honor night?
God rest his soul. When was the last time you did a full out, full throated boo, like a big time? Like who got the most fierce Murawski boo? Can you remember?
Well, I was there for the Burley retirement, Burley's number retirement, and I believe they ushered out Reinsdorf and Kenny, and
Oh.
those two got. Oh, I was hoarse after that. Um, yeah,
Will you boo at spring training when you have boots on the ground
look at this
and
guy.
you're out there with your
Who's this
family, just
guy?
pushing Vince around in the stroller, you and your lovely wife, and you're like, boo! You're not trying hard enough. Boo!
Well, you can get pretty close to the bullpen out in
Yeah.
right field, and you can watch guys. They'll pitch a couple innings, and then they'll go into the bullpen and work on some stuff. And you can be heckling all day long if you really wanted to. I mean, we'll see. I've got a couple guys on my list that if
Oh.
Eloy's still around, he might get some of that from me.
Well, all right. Well,
Gavin
again,
Sheets, I hate to say it.
well, which by the way, speaking of Gavin Sheets, still has an opportunity to win the right field job. That was
Yeah.
another thing I think it was something that our buddy Merkin wrote about in his last article about right field a little bit, and still don't have a plan for right field.
I could give you that right now here.
Yeah, give it to me.
Chris Getz says the White Sox are looking to add a right fielder. How about that? Getz said he is looking to add to a right field mix, which currently includes Gavin Sheets, Brett Phillips, and perhaps DH Eloy Jimenez. Phillips, a non-roster invitee to spring training, is a plus fielder, but career 187 hitter. You hate to see it happen. Sheets and Jimenez don't fit Getz's plan to be improved defensively. No mention of Oscar Colas in that list.
It's very interesting, and I think later on in the article, or maybe it was something I heard on White Sox Weekly, that expect Oscar Colas to spend a lot of time in AAA. I think they're just looking for him to get more at bats and be a little bit more disciplined at the plate, and maybe win his way back up to the big leagues. But for a guy that won the job out of spring training, seemingly not really won the job, but was given the job. It was his to lose, really. To go, if you fast forward a year and it's a guy that's probably not going to make this team. So it's very interesting. And I think it's also very interesting to think about, this team came to terms with all their guys. Nobody's going to arbitration. Their salary this year, their team salary is going to be at 131 million versus I think somewhere 180, 190 last year. So apparently, quote unquote, there's money that could be spent. Why don't you just go out and find a right fielder? And again, I don't, off the top of my head, Nick, I don't know who's really available. If there's anybody worth their salt to really go after in free agency, but it just drives me nuts because we could have addressed this situation, I don't know, about 7 or 8 times over the last 10 years. And we continue to just think that right field will just, solve itself. And eventually you're going to have to address it. I mean, it's a position on the field, right?
Here's a promo night for you. Do you want to be our right fielder? Just have open auditions early in the season. Just, again, like get some buzz, get some Vec-esque buzz with this team where, these guys, look, we don't expect anything from these guys. They have no idea what's going on. Getz, I think, is drinking from the fire hose right now. And it is going to be a learning year for him and a lot of other folks. So, look, hey, they're having a promotional night. They're going to get somebody to play right field because they don't have any options. This goes always back to it could have been solved with Bryce Harper. It could have been solved multiple times. Go get what you want. You've got the money. Don't try to nickel and dime, and maybe we're going to patch it up with this, or we might be able to get creative and trade a couple guys or find somebody, or we're going to change somebody and get them out of position because we like their bat. Go get an absolute proven right fielder. So don't tell me, Jerry Reinsdorf, he cares. He absolutely cares. He cares about winning. more than anything, he just agonizes in his owner's box after the losses. Stop it. Please stop. Do not tell me that, because he could have solved this a long time ago, with making, basically just saying, hey, go after these guys. You have the resources, you have the financial resources. So, again, here we are. And I'm sure these will continue to be talked about, leading up and through spring training. As someone mentioned, Whit Merrifield. Why Whit Merrifield isn't on the Chicago White Sox right now, I'm shocked. That feels like, not that I necessarily love Whit Merrifield and I want him on the South Side, but just seems like the right fit for this team. This is a very White Sox move.
And it was something that it was somebody that Connor had mentioned yesterday on White Sox Weekly was Whit Merrifield. And again, it just seems to check a lot of the boxes, right? With what you're trying to get.
Yeah, I want to get to, we'll segue from Whit Merrifield to some Royals action here, which is, getting kind of sickening, but Sox can't get out of their own way with all of this. One more thing on the promo. I think Sydney brought it up. The magnetic schedule, Pat. Where's the magnetic schedule? I mean, that was a staple. Team calendar, that's like the first few games. If they get rid of the pocket schedule, all hell is going to break loose. Hell will break loose if they get rid of a pocket schedule.
Nick, I hate to tell you.
Stop it. Don't break it to me like
you can carry a schedule with you at any time, and it's in your pocket.
I get it.
I know. You love the pocket schedule. You love to put it in your big fat Costanza wallet. I know. I get it. I like it too. I like it too. It's like your little
security
blanket.
It's a security
blanket. Yeah. But listen. They may not have it anymore. I don't know what to tell you.
TBD. I think it's a TBD thing. So let's jump on assistant general manager. That was a big thing that happened since the last time we talked. Jin Wong is coming over, and there's some connections here left and right. White Sox named longtime baseball executive Wong is the organization's new assistant general manager, reporting to senior vice president, general manager Chris Getz. Here's some of the resume, which I love. They highlighted this. I love it because it goes right into the theme that, again, it's almost getting to be too coincidental. Wong spent the previous 24 seasons with the Kansas City Royals organization, including the last two as vice president, assistant general manager, under executive vice president and general manager. Wong played an integral role in building the Royals back-to-back AL pennant-winning clubs in 2014-15, including the World Series in 2015. And then there was a list of like Royal players on this like bio that he had signed all these contracts of other Royals players. Are you sick of this whole Royals White Sox thing? Is it just getting too, I hate it myself, but they keep feeding into it.
It's almost like it's a gag, Nick. It's like let's see what we can do next. Let's bring in a Royals exec, and then this is what we're going to make sure that is known about this person. All the contracts. All the great contracts that this person was a part of. And let's highlight the World Series that they won almost 10 years ago and how integral that they were in that back-to-back. That's fantastic. Great. It was accomplished. You did that. I understand it. But this business and this world is, what have you done for me lately? And what were you able to sustain from that? Did you go from, the back-to-back? And again, we haven't enjoyed that. We haven't enjoyed back-to-back AL pennant teams in our lifetime. And I don't know if we ever will, Nick, but that's wonderful. But tell me about we were the Kansas City Royals. We're not a large market team. So after that, we had to tear it down, but it took 2 or 3 or 4 years, but we were able to build it back up, and we were able to build ourselves into something else again. Tell me when that happened, because it didn't. So I just don't understand the desire to bring these people in unless it's like, okay, listen, guys, we're all just bringing in everybody in to make each other comfortable. This is Pedro's going to feel comfortable. Getz is going to feel comfortable. There's going to be continuity. Everybody's going to love each other. And it's really not going to have any new ideas, but everybody's going to just be a yes man to each other.
I was thinking about this, and I think you hit on it. Where I'm coming from is, if you've ever been hired to do a job, and maybe you were hired to do a job that you probably weren't even qualified to do. And I firmly don't believe Chris Getz is qualified to do this job right now. He's going to learn, and I'm sure he's going to get better. But to not have a real search and just, again, we've talked about it. It's just nauseating. So he's bringing in people that he's comfortable with, that he had built up some rapport with, that I don't know if necessarily be a yes man, but I know how you think. We can kind of fail together or we could succeed together, but I'm comfortable with you. You might not challenge me with the team of rivals approach that I've talked about before, of get people in that have differing opinions, that are going to make you better, that have some great experience, that have done amazing things in winning organizations
from multiple organizations, right,
yes,
Nick?
Because
the diversity that you can bring in, whether it's diversity from your background or your race or whatever your gender, any diversity that you bring into a group of people will ultimately produce better for the group, because multiple ideas and different thought processes is what makes companies succeed in this day and age. And when you're just getting the exact same person, right, for, basically, and I mean that from the standpoint of we're all coming from a Royals mentality. It's like you have nothing to get no checks and balances with each other, right? You can't say, this is what I would like to do. And then maybe you're cross-checking that with someone that came from the Rays organization. And they say, you know what, I understand what you mean, but this is how we thought about that situation and how we succeeded. And maybe you cross-check that against, somebody that came in from the Braves organization, or somebody from Boston, or somebody from whatever. It doesn't matter. And you could have a little bit better of a situation that way when you're having multiple people having different thoughts and go, okay, we all coming from winning organizations. And now I'm Chris Getz and I like this idea in this situation. And the next time it comes up, maybe it's the other person's idea that wins that day. I don't know, but I just can't imagine that pulling from, of all teams, the Kansas City Royals, to get all these wonderful ideas and building a team using that as your cornerstone. I just can't get behind it.
Unfortunately, it started with Grifol and Getz. Getz was with the Royals. Getz came into the White Sox organization. Just the quotes from Jerry Reinsdorf on how Getz impressed him. And I mean, it's absolutely insane of why he got, into the job that he got, in my personal opinion. So Getz probably championed Pedro Grifol when that hiring process was going on, when Grifol was hired. I know Pedro Grifol, like that I think that would be a good fit. And here we are. Grifol was in Kansas City for a long time. Getz, now Wong. And it's like, well, that's where it started. Maybe if it started with, who knows, the Colorado Rockies or something, we'd be poaching from the Rockies, because our new fearless leader would be wanting to get all these people from Colorado because that's where they felt most comfortable. So that's what I'm concerned about, is you're just surrounding yourself with friends, right? With just people that, and we've all probably done it. If you've ever been in a job where you had an opportunity to hire people, you probably looked at people you were comfortable with and said, hey, what do you think about coming to work for this company? I know you. It'd be great to have some familiar faces around. So look what happened when Ozzie was hired. Who came in? Joey Cora, Harold Baines, Tim Raines. Now, again, I think that's how it should be. If you're the manager, you should absolutely be able to bring in the people you're comfortable with, that you are going to set the tone and create the chemistry and everything you want for your ball club. But in an organization, in an executive world, it's bonkers to me.
Well,
Of
and
how
it's
this is
also
going.
lazy, and
Yes,
it goes back to,
yes,
and it
yeah,
goes from the top down, because Jerry started with the laziness of not trying to interview a bunch of, prospective rather, general managers, and not looking outside of the organization. It was, this seems pretty easy. I can just move this guy here. He hasn't really done anything to deserve it, but that's what we're going to do. And then coincidentally, from there on out, it's just been lazy acquisition after lazy acquisition.
yeah. It's when everyone asks, like, why are we wanting to be the Royal? I mean, that to me is the reason. It's just individuals in these types of positions want to surround themselves with comfort, with folks that they know, they get along with, they speak the same language. That's why Jerry did it. Jerry didn't want anybody telling him how things need to be done, how things should be done, how money should be spent, how many more people need to be hired to really keep up with the winning organizations. Absolutely not. It's like, I don't want anybody pushing me around like that. Getz is here. I can make an argument of why he should be, our new leader. And there you go.
Well, I do I need to remind you that you were supposed to be positive in 2024. That was your New Year's resolution. I
Yeah.
do need to bring that up. So maybe you should end this podcast on a positive note. I don't know, Nick. What could you bring up?
I'm gonna end it with, instead of a Pedro Grifol quote, it's a Chris Getz quote, and this one brought a lot of just kind of confusion. We'll try to put a positive spin on it. I think. Okay. Let's just say this before I get into the quote. I once again think the team will be better prepared. They'll be better fundamentally.
You're trying not to laugh this whole time.
You know what? I think this team will be faster than last year's team.
No, good.
I really do. I really think they're going to be quicker. They're going to be faster. So
awesome. Can't wait to
look for that. Here's Chris Getz. It starts with the education of players. You hold them accountable. You prepare them to go out there and fight on a daily basis. They have to know the pitcher they're facing. I feel like the system is going to be strong. So,
they have to at least know who you're facing, I guess. Apparently nobody looked at the other team and who they might be facing on a night in, night out basis.
Have some intel, do a little bit of homework. We were talking Colas and everything, and it felt like the reason he was up with the team was just so Grifol could yell at him and hold somebody accountable. And it was Grifol and I think Corey Lee a little bit last year. Like, those were the two that were the scapegoats. All these other veterans, all these other, superstars, quote unquote, at 35th and Shields, like, they couldn't figure out baseball 101 at times, but it was Oscar Colas. He's got to turn the volume down on the boombox. He's got to take it back. Corey Lee, like that's where I felt like Grifol, like, are you trying to send a message by going at these young guys? You don't earn any of my respect that way. And if you're too fearful to go at the real problems, then obviously that is the real problem.
Well, and Nick, that goes back to a lot of the leadership issues or lack thereof on this team from a player perspective, because it just wasn't there, because the players are the ones that are supposed to police the locker room, and the star players should be the ones, handling that type of stuff and being the arm for the manager in the clubhouse. And when you don't have that, you have a hollow manager coming out and trying to take care of that stuff, and it just doesn't really work.
So it really opens up 2024 as the year of Nicky Lopez and Paul DeYoung. I mean,
why not?
They're going to do whatever you want. Nobody's watching.
Do whatever you want.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, hey, make sure you check out the latest Future Sox podcast. I believe Ian Eskridge and James Fox just recorded. And that should be dropping. Yeah, should be dropping soon. So subscribe, check that out for what all the new stuff that Future Sox is doing. And want to thank everybody for jumping in the comments, for joining us on this crazy adventure on our YouTube channel. And of course, following the podcast wherever you follow your podcasts. It means a ton. And in these cold January days, this tough off season, it is awesome to rub shoulders virtually with other like-minded people.
Of course. And we appreciate everybody. Thanks for listening. Hope everybody has a safe holiday tomorrow. If you happen to be off, enjoy it. And it's a great day to enjoy. And thank you, Nick, for putting this together. I can't wait to do it again next week with you. It was a blast, and we'll find more things maybe to be excited about. Maybe there'll be a cease trade to discuss. Maybe there'll be more promotional things to take a look at. You never know.
That would be interesting. Another drop a week later. We shall see. Again, thank you so much for joining us. For Pat Hester, I am Nick Murawski. Until next time, go Sox.